exactly 100% what you're saying because I'm like that as well. You have to do things in your trading day. Some days I can go in there and go make $1,000 in like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do for the rest of the day? Blow it?
Yeah.
Because that's what the market's hoping you do.
And so you're joining me, War. So my nephew is
So
nephew elite in the server. By the way, I started streaming, so just full disclosure, just so you know. Um,
sure.
so so and I taught. So he was over my location for a funeral, and before he was leaving, he said, I'd love to learn trading. Why don't I just stay? We ended up staying for a month, and he know nothing about the market. He's early 20s, former Marine. Really knew he wanted to be a Marine like mid through high school. So as soon as he could join, he joined. Made the most out of it, and so he kind of had that discipline, and that everything kind of like that. I would say a normal person doesn't have. So it's been interesting to see him adopt the system in the trading. But then also, to your point, I noticed when he was here, except, well, that's when I had my 2 losing days. So I think what I was trying to do is I think part of me was a trying to show him how elite I was, right? Um, and, and, uh, and so it works the opposite for me, kind of having someone there,
Oh, okay. So
you
you're
know?
trying to show off.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, cause I journaled, I shared my journal, like I still journal. And like, like I hadn't had, that was my first losing day in 3 years. So it's like, and I was like, okay, well, what's changed? And I'm like, well, I think I'm arrogant. You know, I think I've built arrogance into what I'm doing, and that's not good for a trader. Being arrogant. So and like I said, it was a combination of arrogance, and then also when you have enough powder to trade yourself out of any trade, like it's it's your entries are terrible because like you're just okay, well, I'll just scaling down here. I'll just scaling down here. Well, unless you know the best way is to wait for confirmation. And the challenge, not the challenge, that the most frustrating thing for someone being in this psychological problem at my level is that I clearly see the confirmation. I clearly can wait for it, but I just have that need for the action. Um, that it's because I get bored, and trading's not about that, right? Trading's about taking money from the market and putting it in your pocket. That's what trading's about.
Right.
It's not about having a challenge. And where I'm at is I still kind of need a challenge. Like it's it's too easy trading my system. Is and I know that's weird to say, but so recently, like a day, 2 weeks ago or something, like on a Friday, when the last Friday when it just ripped up, like it was just like I just said I'm just gonna be dumb and stupid, and I'm just gonna trade my system as I would expect someone that I taught to trade it, and it was just so like just dumb because I was like, okay, I'll buy again, okay, I'll buy again, okay, I'll take profit here, and it just like it felt good, but then like it was no challenge, and I don't know if people understand that, but um, you know, it's just it's have you figured
It's all psychology of the trader.
yeah, have you figured out how to duplicate someone watching you? Maybe you should try
Uh,
streaming.
I I can. I used to stream YouTube years ago, other things, but yeah, I could probably get into something like that
Because
because I hold myself, like you said, I hold myself more accountable when I do that.
yeah, and that's
It's not like it's not like I don't know what to do, but when I'm sitting there by myself and I'm not doing anything, and if I'm in a VC with a chat with a bunch of traders trading different things, I you just get that urge, that addicted gambler urge to just take a trade just because you want to be part of the action.
mm-hmm.
And you got to be smarter and you got to wait for the trade to come to you.
Yeah.
And you know, these are all things that I know that you've dealt with this over your lifetime, and I'm dealing with that I trade well, I can trade with the big boys, but sometimes I just sometimes I want the trade to happen right away.
Yeah.
And so what I did was I tried to change some things up about a month or two ago and say, hey, I'm just gonna go take my trades. I'm gonna wait for the market to get into some sort of trend. When a pullback gets in, I'm gonna start going that way, and try to go to the gym afterwards. And that way, I'll break myself up and do something different other than sit at my desk and look at the screens all day.
Yeah.
That's that's my biggest enemy, and that's from talking to a lot of people. That's what everybody's biggest enemy is. When they go up, love to give it back.
Yeah, and there's that mantra or that meme of traders can make money in the morning and then lose it in the afternoon. And my nephew, so you understand because you just started following me, like, or just got aware of me. So, like, I demand, so people that adopt my system, get in my training, I demand 10 green sessions in a row before you trade live capital. So until you have 10 green sessions, because my system's not a losing system. It's an always in system, and you should not lose money because every day there are at least 4 to 5 good trades. And if you're trading the system properly, you're going to capture elements of those good trades. The challenge is obviously the meathead that drives it. But so I demand 10 green days. So my nephew's in the midst of creating his 10 green days. And what he's discovered is that exact thing, which is like, I trade great in the morning, but like the afternoon, and I share this, I'm sure you've recognized it too. There's 4 psychologies of the market during the cash market, and you have to be able to flip a switch. The psychology of the market right now changes at 13:15 Central Standard Time for the afternoon session. And then it changes again around this time. Between this time and the next 20 minutes, the psychology of the market changes. And you have to be able to, and the problem is most people don't have a system that adopts to that, but then also they don't have the ability to not have recency bias around what happened in the morning, right?
Well, can I ask you a quick question about something?
Sure.
So TradingView has this MA on the volume indicator. Is it worth like putting it on like a like I have mine set to 14. So when the volume is above the 14 on the MA, then I can think about trading. If the volume is below that 14, I'm out of the market completely.
I don't know.
Does that make sense?
No, I don't. I mean, say more about that. Like, what do you mean volume indicator?
So on TradingView, they have that basic.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Duh. Sorry. Sometimes I'm slow. Okay.
If you go in there and you click the MA, it's usually, I think it's the default at a blue line.
Mm-hmm.
I set mine to a 14, I think it is.
Okay.
And or a 20. I forget which one I have it set at. 14
Yeah.
or 20.
Yep.
And if the volume is above that average, then it's safe to trade.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what I do.
Yeah. So I mean, like I said before, I used to do volume analysis and really care. You don't need it. I think it's a waste of time. So to me, I haven't seen that, but that doesn't mean that, like, so when I answer a question, like, you're asking me, it's my honest feedback, doesn't mean it's the right answer, but I haven't found edge in that at all. And like I said,
Okay.
I ditched all volume analysis, but focusing on, okay, if I'm going to ditch volume analysis, then, that Forex trader out there, the dude that just kind of came out, I don't know if you followed him, he's a prop firm trader, and he just like slowly shared his system over a series of years. God, what's that guy's name? I don't know if you caught this. I asked this because most people that are in trading kind of see the same type of things I've seen over the years, right? But he kind of slyly shared his system, and like, what is the name of that guy? Anyways, his interpretation of volume and this is where most people didn't get it, is that is not volume, but the way he interprets volume is not volume, because there's no true volume in Forex that you can get. But you can, no, not ICT. I know ICT, which I have challenges with ICT. But I'm not going to get into fights with traders. But no, it's, anyways, he was very sly about what he did. But I share that because I spent probably about 3 months deciding how volume has to play a factor in my trading. And what I came to the conclusion that it has no factor whatsoever, because the system I want to trade on equities, futures, options, I trade everything, multiple time frames. Volume never correlates. Okay, the time that you spend doing volume analysis doesn't correlate to edge, because there are instances where your volume analysis and the market will do the exact opposite of volume analysis. And it's just because, why? I don't know. I think it's because there's not, it's an imbalance of one side of the market, if we want to talk from it from a perspective of like the market, right?
Yeah.
So like, why can something keep moving up and keep moving up and keep moving up when like they're like the volume's below the 30-day volume? It's because there's a lack of sellers. There's just a lack of sellers. So like, okay, if the sell side's not participating and only the buy side's participating, and that's the only volume represented, what good does volume analysis do you? Because you're comparing volume to a previous time, and it's really present in equities, because the problem with equities is that equities are so situational to what happened. So you might look at the volume analysis from 9 months ago on Tesla, but the paradigm of what Tesla was dealing with and the market attention on Tesla was vastly different than the market attention of today. So the the comparative volume analysis isn't even comparative, because it's so like, because literally the whole market could be thinking Tesla's a buy up to $1,000. I don't know what it's at now, but whatever, you know what I mean? And then there's non-existent sellers in the market, and comparatively, the market situation is completely different. And that's where volume is a false indicator in my mind.
Right. I can see that.
So that doesn't mean that doesn't have some value, but that's why where I said the value for me is, okay, how do we capture it? Well, how I capture it is VWAP. It's like, okay, VWAP, the way it's calculated, it factors in volume. So I don't have to, that's why you don't see volume on many of my charts, except for TradingView, just because it's there. But I don't have volume. I've done TPO, so I spent about a year trading TPO. So I understand TPO very well, which is kind of like a derivative of volume. So I don't know.
Well, somebody brought up ICT.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't follow ICT, but I have a couple friends that are in their during their group now studying, and it seems like they do a lot of fair gap gap fills and things like that.
Yeah.
Is that any? How do you feel about that stuff?
No, I think it's good. My philosophy is there's a million ways to trade them. I mean, I know I've trained a guy, for instance, that he just, like I say, there's not a million ways. There's many different ways to trade the market. But I've trained a guy locally in real life that he just pulls up the charts 2 hours a week, and he's wildly successful with swing trading 2 hours a week, because he has 4 kids and he's got a wife and a couple other obligations, but he's wildly successful now. And he adopted my system, but then a derivative of some ICC stuff, because he was in ICT before. He kind of like said, hey, you're a trader? I didn't know that. And then I sat down with him for a couple of days and just kind of taught him my system, and developed. His problem was that ICT isn't developed around his life. You know, he only had 2 hours a week where he could really concentrate. So I think that those concepts are good, but my challenge is that many of the things that ICT teaches are, well, I don't know if he trades, because I think it's been revealed that he doesn't trade live money. I think he's shared on that he doesn't trade live money. And I know he makes a lot more money from trading than he does from training than he does. I don't trust anybody. I trust no one that makes more money from training than they do trading. So
Yeah, because if they were trading and their strategies were that good, they would make hundreds of thousands of dollars.
yeah, and that's why I'm an anomaly. That's why people look at me and say, "What the hell does this guy do? Why does he even do this? He only charges $9.97 for his training, one-time fee. Like, the dude has cancer, you know, terminal cancer. Like, what the why?"
What kind of, if you don't mind me asking, what kind of cancer do you have?
So I don't know. A couple of years ago, I got diagnosed with colorectal cancer, and then you know, I got into the trade of my life where basically I ignored the doctor's recommendations, and it got so bad that I had to be rushed to the ER, major surgery. Well, then, and I had surgery then, and then the juxt of it, I had major surgery, 21 hours. I was rewarded with a urostomy and an ostomy. So if you know what those are, so
No, it's
it's basically where you piss and crap out of your stomach. So I've got these bags on my stomach. Now, why I didn't listen to the doctors is like I was, you know, I thought I could, through nutrition and through other stuff, I could solve cancer, whatever. And then also I think I was a little fearful of getting like a urostomy, which is basically where you crap out of like this, like basically they rearrange your bowels so that you have this tube coming out of your stomach and you basically crap in this bag. So I think I was just manly. I just didn't, from a man's perspective, I just didn't want that, right? So I took the risk. Anyways, it got so bad that I had to have an operation, 21 hours, was in the hospital for 3 weeks. 15 years ago, I probably wouldn't have been alive. So I'm happy to be alive. I was cancer-free for a couple years, and then it came back, and it's in 4 areas of my body. You know, liver, lungs, my buttocks, and then I don't know, one other place. I can't think right now, or I can't. But so right now I'm getting chemo treatment and kind of derivative chemo treatments every 2 weeks. It's stable, meaning that I just had a scan the first of the month. Just got the scan results yesterday. What most people don't know about MRIs and CT scans is that it could be different tomorrow because it's just a sliver. So, you know, as I had a laugh with my doctor yesterday because he's pulling up. I'm telling him how to operate the MRI software. Like he's having problems because they just got this new software. I'm like, no, dude, you go over there and then you measure the tumor this way and then you do this. He's like, how do you, I'm like, because I'm a nerd and like I watch YouTube videos and I read the manuals of these systems, like because I want to be educated. You know, he's like, yeah, you know, the only patient that tells me how to operate my software. But so where my cancer's at right now is I'm responding well to treatment. I'm at what would be called, I'm not in remission, I'm at stable, where basically every one of my scans, you know, it's either the same size of my tumors or basically there's a 10 or 15% reduction. But, you know, what most people don't know is, like I said, the CT or MRI is at that point in time. I could literally get another CT and MRI tomorrow. And you know, my tumor in my liver, for instance, instead of being 18 centimeters, could be 19.1. So, you know, it's a changing thing. So that's me. You know, we all have a time we're going to die. I just kind of have a disease that I'm dealing with every couple weeks, or every 2 weeks. You know, I trade when I'm on chemo. Well, you can tell the weeks that I trade because I'm only making $5 or $6 grand a day instead of like 20. So, you know, I get chemo every 2 weeks, and just kind of deal with it from there. Is that a good overview?
That's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, you know, I was a successful trader when I don't think I would have survived Well, I I say that I made the trade of my life because I basically didn't listen to the doctor's recommendations. Where I know I don't ever go back and look back and regret. But like if I would have listened to the doctor's original advice, my I wouldn't have a urostomy and an ostomy. So literally, like I know it's hard. I haven't shared or I haven't showed or shared much, but literally, I piss and crap in my stomach, and I have these bags attached to me, and I gotta change. I gotta kind of redo the attachments to my body every 3 days. I sleep with a bag, like a urine bag. So got more personal here than I have. I'm gonna share this kind of in the future too, so people kind of know because I do mention it.
Yeah. I had sepsis 2 years ago. I was in the hospital for 2 weeks. My liver was infected, and I had a big abscess in it, and I had to drain it. And they had a bag coming out my ribs,
Oh yeah, those hurt, don't they?
and it just yeah, I was in a lot of pain,
Yeah.
and I had that bag for like almost 2 months. That's it. So I had to get it cleaned, and I had to give myself an IV every day, and with an antibiotic in it and stuff like that. The cleaning and the maintenance of the bag and all that stuff. It's a lot.
Yeah.
It is a lot.
It's a pain in the ass, but there's benefit. I mean, it's kind of like one of those things where the human ability to adapt is massive. Like, you know,
Right, right. Yeah, when you have to.
yeah, when you have to, like, so there's benefits to it. Like, I don't have to get up and go to the bathroom. Like, I could just connect a bag and I could sit and play, the Potter game, and like I don't have to get out. I could drink as much water as I want. Everything else, I don't have to get up and constantly go to the bathroom. When I go to a movie, I used to hate going to movies that were 3 hours long because I love popcorn and the drinks. That's part of the benefit of me going to the movie. But then halfway through, I have to get up and take a piss. Well, now I just connect my bag and like, hey, I'll watch a 4 hour movie. I'd watch The Godfather in a movie theater now. So yeah, you're right. I mean, there's also annoyances and stuff like that, but I've really appreciated how well the humans can adapt, right? Like,
Right.
because my fear, why I didn't do it, I think was my fear, loss of manhood or whatever else. Plus, I don't want to have a bag connected to me the rest of my life. Well, by me being a dumbass, I have two bags now just to survive, right? So, um, but and most people most people wouldn't know looking at me. Even when I'm on chemo, you can ask my nephew. Like he was here when I got two treatments. Most people, I go out. Most people wouldn't even know I'm on chemo treatment. Like because I offset it with nutrition and plus I just like to me you got one life. I don't know how else to operate. I don't. I don't. So that's why it is kind of weird. I got out of that trade, by the way, because I was in a fade trade. We're up about $5,500 today, so I'm gonna end the day green from my negative trading. But yeah, so I know it's like most people looking from the outside, they learn this like why. Like number one, I'm passionate about the market. I just love it. I'd be doing this regardless if I was streaming. So you know, like I'm not doing anything that I wouldn't be doing anyways, and I don't know how to operate any different. Like I don't like I I don't know how to be productive or how to be unproductive. You know, I don't like TV. I mean, I do, but I just, you know what I mean? So, how long did you have that sepsis thing?
So I got sick. I thought it was COVID. I go to the doctors. They told me, Eric, yeah, you got COVID. Just deal with it. I'm like, okay. I got home. I just started feeling pains. The abscess was like pushing on my stomach and ribs, and it was starting to hurt, like sharp pains. Like this can't be COVID. This is just really odd. So I went in there, and they found out later that day that I had sepsis. So they started treating me, and then they did X-rays and everything, and they found out that I had an abscess, and pretty much everything under my kidneys was infected. So it didn't go up into my spine or my heart or my brain, thank God. Um, but I was in the hospital for 2 weeks total,
All the field.
and you can't stay in the hospital while you have the bag, so you have to learn how to do this stuff. You have to learn how to give yourself an IV of an antibiotic every
Yep.
day,
Yep.
twice a day.
Yep.
You have to learn how to change the bag and clean the area, and you need to know this stuff.
You don't have a significant other?
Oh yeah, my wife pretty much did everything.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So,
So
yeah. So they become your nurse, basically.
oh yeah, it was great. So, but like it's it's a hard thing, because you're going through a lot emotionally, and when the doctors are telling you stuff, you're not listening to everything.
Yeah.
But since I had a wife, I got lucky. I mean, she listened to everything and she followed everything the doctor said to the T. So I learned when I was younger. I'm going to be married 20 years next year. Yeah, next year will be 20. So the year before we got married, I had my wisdom teeth taken out, and I had all the gauze pads in there. My wife's like, they said leave it in there and let it clot up, and I'm like, yeah, okay, because I'm on whatever they gave me to knock me out, goofy. And so we get home and she's like, let me clean out your mouth. I'm like, okay, well, just opened it up and I just started bleeding real bad, and we couldn't stop. After 2 hours, she had to take me back. So right then and there, I learned that I better, next time I go into a hospital or something like that, or have something done, I better listen to make sure she's doing the right job too.
Yeah.
So she basically, apologized to me that I didn't fully listen, or I didn't think. So now she's really attentive, and she does the right thing now. So good.
No, you're lucky. I mean,
Learn
that,
from your mistakes. It's just like trading.
yeah. And that's what I was saying. Like, I don't know if I'd be alive if I didn't have trading, because trading, well, in order to be a successful trader, you have to be so introspective, and you have to be able to look yourself in the mirror and be so honest that most people are lying to themselves every single day. Most people live a lie every single day. Like, and I say most people, I just believe that because I don't see how else you can function sometimes. Meaning that if you ask most people, they think they're going to be wealthy at some point in time in the future. But what are they doing every day to get wealthy? They magically going to win the lottery or something? Like, at least here in the United States, right? It's like most people don't plan for their retirement. They just think that somehow it's going to just magically they're going to be taken care of, right? So, but to be a successful trader, like, you have to, one or two things are going to happen. You're either going to be successful or you're going to go broke if you're not honest with yourself. You can't lie in trading because, like, eventually you're going to run out of capital. And then when you run out of capital, you can't trade anymore. So, like, you literally can't lie in trading. So why I relate that to why I probably wouldn't be alive is that I was, when I got diagnosed, I was becoming a profitable trader, and it allowed me to not to look at the situation and assess the situation properly, even though I didn't make the right decision initially. But then as it built life skills that, like, I don't know if I would have been able to, I didn't have, other than being a success. Because you have to learn, you have to know yourself, right? You have to, like, really, really, really know yourself. Like, otherwise you're going to go broke. That's really the only, that's how it works. There's no other option in trading. Even if you're going to automate a system, like, people I know that automate, like, it's an interpretation of their psychology on top of the automation, because you have to put your philosophy on top of the automation, and then you have to, you don't just turn automation on and it just magically works every day. It requires ongoing management. Even when you get something to work, it requires ongoing management. So that's what most people that haven't tried to automate or don't automate realize, is that it's not just something that you turn on and because like, the market isn't consistent from a risk parameter perspective. So, and there isn't enough reliable risk data to properly code in risk parameters with automation without the management of a human. That's really the main challenge, or the main issue with automation. Well, we have covered a lot of
And then
subjects here. Keep going.
and then you got the next part of psychology is, hey, my account's green today. Good job, pat myself on the back. You know what? There's still time. Let me see if I can double that.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Or,
greed plays a big factor in your trading psychology, and you gotta learn how to get through it without being greedy. If you have a daily profit goal of 500 or 5,000 a day, once you get there, just do yourself a favor and get out, because that's how they get you.
yeah, I think that works for some people. I mean, I agree. I mean, that's where you have to kind of learn these psychological hacks, right? You have to learn, like, okay, how do I psychologically hack myself to be a successful trader? Because a lot of, well, I say this often, like you said, you just discovered me today. You know, the stats are 80 to 90% of retail traders are not successful. And 80 to 90% YouTubers and the books and the stuff you read are from retail traders. So if the stats are the stats, what does that mean about the advice that you're reading from 80 to 90% of stuff that's out there? It probably means that it's wrong. So that's I think it's garbage in, garbage out. I think that's the one of the main, and most retail traders, they're not given the permission to take the arrows and to realize that to be a successful retail trader, you've got to almost ignore everything else out there and figure out the path that works for you. And that's why I say in my system, when people adopt my system, like, look, I start from day one. Number one, my system works, but you need to make it your own. Like, you're not going to trade another man's system with conviction until you make it your own. So, you know, I'm always stressing, like, look, my system's awesome, the best trading system on the planet, but like, it needs not the Rexdog system, it needs to be whatever your name is system, because it's your unique psychology, it's your unique perspective, and it's your unique. That's how you trade. I believe the most successful traders I see and I know, they're trading from conviction. Their trades are conviction trades, and you only get conviction when you trust the system that you're trading. And you only trust the system that you're trading when it's been proven to you that it can be trusted. And that's not by watching a series of videos or going through trainings and then understanding the system. It's literally, you have to see it in real time, consistently, do what you expect. And then you're trading from conviction. So, you know, I think that's a big factor in why most people aren't successful with trading, from a retail side, at least my perspective.
Well, real quick, I gotta run into this doctor's office, but you said you have a trading system. Is it on here?
Yeah. So if you go to my website, Rexdog Trading, so I share my full trading system. My full trading is $9.97, one-time fee, includes all indicators, all training I add. It won't include anything I add in Sierra Chart because I have a developer relationship, and that will have to be an additional fee. But it won't be a subscription because I hate subscriptions. But yeah, so that's access to my full system, my full training. I update it constantly. So for instance, I'm creating pattern libraries now. But anyways, keep going. I know you got to go. So
You said which system is it in? The indicator.
well, right now we're TradingView is where all the core indicators are, and then the core base indicators are in Tradeovate. They are in Ninja. They should be in the latest version of Ninja. And then I'm working on making sure that all of our base indicators are on other platforms. That's kind of the next phase of what I'm doing. But the way to look at it is that the core indicator should be available like being able to create the core indicators from through rules or through the tools that exist from a platform should be able to create it on any platform. But then, like for instance, I have an RSI indicator. We use TradingView to kind of do our main TA and kind of do our kind of analysis. But like then you're going to get into the platform, and then it's you're only going to probably have a couple core you're only going to have a couple core indicators when you're trading in the platform. So what you see me trading, for instance, I have more indicators that we would maybe use for additional TA, but I have just the core momentum indicators that you see me streaming. Those are just my RDA, which is a free indicator, the Rex Dog average, and then the momentum indicators, and then our extreme bands are in the platforms. And then we use TradingView kind of as our main TA. I think it's the best kind of clean TA platform out there, even though it annoys me daily. It's so that's does that make sense, or am I clear?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've kind of there's so many platforms out there, so I'm in that path now of like, okay, like what's the most popular platforms people are trading on, and then how do we make sure that we have all of our indicators on those platforms, or there's training on how to add them to those platforms. So that's my next phase of what I'm releasing here in the next 3 to 4 months. And I'm either going to acquire a NinjaTrader shop, or I'm going to get NinjaTrader approved. So that's the path we're going down. I'm in the talks with maybe acquiring a NinjaTrader indicator house that's created NinjaTrader indicators, and acquiring that and just folding it into what I do. So because they already have the tech.
From what I saw on your charts and everything and what you're talking about, it seems like your trading style is very similar to mine. So I definitely would be interested. I'm going to start tonight when I get home. I'll start going through some of your videos and checking them out and stuff like that. I'll start there.
Yeah, I'll just share it from a 10%. Yeah, for sure. So like I don't push it. I don't no pressure, but my trading system is a price action trading system that basically, if you want to know the power of it, it predicts on the chart where to look for reactions, and then we trade reactions, and then we trade patterns. But it's price action. That's really at the core simplicity. That's what it is. It's basically, look, we expect a reaction here. We trade reactions, and then we trade patterns. And then all the indicators in the system just support that. So it's like I couldn't get, like I said, I have a tendency because of my brain to overcomplicate things. That's the dumb, simple way of like what we're doing. And when I do that, I actually do very well. But we've already talked about the psychological issues, like you understand that.
Yeah.
So, well, no, good. Well, hopefully, the doctor's appointment is something that just is a minor checkup, nothing major. It's been good to like.
No, my son has strep throat.
Oh.
And I'm feeling off, and I'm going on a trip next week. I just want to make sure I have, not COVID or something.
Yeah, so that you can actually travel. No, but it's awesome. Like I'm like I said, this is kind of cool. I'm glad to just kind of have a conversation. Like I said, I show up every single day. So, the fact that people don't take advantage of talking to me, I'm not amazed. I just people can take advantage of talking to me. You'll see that I just talk. I'm hanging out anyways. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're another tool in the toolbox.
Yeah.
You gotta, if the tool works, you can maybe become a master at trading on your indicators or whatever. I mean, it's definitely worth the research.
Yeah. So Discord's the best place for comments, questions. That's kind of where I show up every single day. So any questions, anything else, just get in touch. So I appreciate the conversation. I appreciate the ability to conversate, and sharing some things. And I actually do have one thing I got to look up, which is your ES VWAP thing. I'm going to look and see whether or not that can be incorporated into an additional edge. So.
Yeah, it's very simple. If you look at the charts, and you just put them up next to each other, like the 1 minute versus the 1 minute, you will see that sometimes it will go to a deviation and the other one won't go.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so like if you're sitting there trading and you got VWAP on your chart, it's really not doing you any service, because you're taking the trade from, let's say, deviation 2 to deviation 1, for instance, and or it's a pullback to the first one, and then the market's going to still drop, and you're saying, all right, now I'm going to short it because it just rejected off of deviation 1. I'm going to get out at deviation 2.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're trading the ES and that thing, you're waiting for that thing to go up and touch that deviation line, it's not going to happen. Because the NQ did it. So
Yeah.
I'm telling you, like 9 out of 10 times that thing is dead on accurate. And I've just been watching it for the last month. I've just noticed this myself. And I am in other trading groups, and one of the guys, he's a big time trader, and he was telling there was like 50 people in the chat one day, and when this guy talks, everybody listens, and he actually brought something like that up, and he mentioned the YM as well, and I'm like, nah, I'm not gonna. If these two are running together, then I'm not gonna chart the YM, because the YM just kind of does what it wants to do sometimes.
Yeah, it's like the M2K or the Russell.
Yeah.
Right. So it's kind of just does what it, Well, that's because the underlying on that.
You can look it up over the past couple of weeks and just start like taking a look at it, and you're like, yeah, you'll start noticing patterns there.
Yeah. No,
Sometimes it touches, sometimes it doesn't, but it will touch on the other one.
Yeah. No, I have a very systematic process where I go looking at these things. So just because. So no, I like I said, it's on my list. So I'm going to. I will look at it, and then I'll share with the group kind of my feedback and kind of what I see.
Yeah. Now there are times. I think there was Thursday last week, where I think the ES was running and the NQ was red.
Mm-hmm.
One was green, one was red, and it just didn't make any sense. But I think like within 40 minutes they came back to meet, and then once they met, they ran together for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
So you got to kind of understand when that's happening as well. You kind of don't want to take them signals. But
yeah.
You do want to count on them meeting up eventually.
No, that makes sense.
They will run together eventually.
Yeah, and I think that it's just a matter of figuring out the correlation. Have you done any research on the correlation factor? Like how correlated is this truly? Or it's just something you just noticed?
No, I've just been watching it, and I've been trading Sim, and I've been trading my live account based upon it. And when my conviction is very, very high that, hey, we're going to drop here because the other one, then I can get into that trade early. And usually within like 30 seconds, you'll see the candle just tank.
Yeah.
Just drop, and you're, wow, hundreds of dollars, like a snap of your fingers.
Interesting. Okay.
Order filled.
Yeah, because I guess it takes I guess there's a little bit of divergence maybe between the time.
Well, it's the makeup. Yeah, the makeup of the underline is different. Plus the makeup of the ES and the makeup of the the makeup of the ES is just much different. Comparatively to the NQ.
But also, I figured this out yesterday that my trading view charts are 11 seconds behind my Ninja Trader.
Yeah.
So my 5-minute candle's forming on my Ninja Trader 11 seconds before my trading view, and I'm taking my signals off the trading view. So I'm like, what? Like, can I be getting in better trades if it's going to be a little bit faster?
Yeah, and that's kind of where you have to make a decision, like what's your control, right? Your control probably is your broker, the one that connects to your broker. And then, because the other thing that, you'll come to realize that most traders aren't profitable, is that your time zone matters. And so I'm going to be changing over to all New York time zone. I typically use Central Standard, but when you start getting into platforms, your time zone based on, because how these platforms work is they have a look back period and then they have a data load period. And even though the indicator should be painting the same, or things should be painting the same, the system, even if you're in the cloud like TradingView, the system is using, to save resources, a certain amount of low data look back period. And the factor that we've discovered that plays a role in that to first test against is your time zone. If your time zones are different on different charts, different platforms, even your local time zone on your PC, you'll have different painting on the same data set in different platforms. It's something I've dealt with. I've dealt with it firsthand with Sierra Chart, and the reason why I'm changing is because on Sierra Chart, on any shared chart book or any shared thing between computers or machines, because I trade on 2-3 different machines, if the time zone is different, if the time zone is different, you will get different painting. Even though the data, you could copy and paste the data, the time zone is different. That's the one. So I believe that that's what you're seeing probably there from trading. But plus, there is latency, right?
Well, you know what's been, what alerted me to this is that in the past 2 weeks, like every time there's like a breakout,
Mm-hmm.
I'm hitting the button, a limit. I buy limit orders mostly. So I hit that limit, and usually like once in a while I can't get in because the price just moves too fast. So I'm looking at this breakout happening on my trading view chart, and then I go long for the breakout on NinjaTrader, and I'm not in the trade. I'm only getting filled like 1 out of 4 times, and I'm like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
So then I get pissed off, and then I take the trade, and now I got to get out because things already up, a lot of money, and then finally I can get in. Now I gotta worry about it reversing at this point. 'Cause I'm only scalping real quick, so it's not like I'm holding on for 20-30 minutes or anything like that. So
Yeah, normal scalp. I mean, a normal scalper probably wouldn't see that, and anybody that's not scalping wouldn't even notice that. But that's interesting.
yeah, so I can't trade again until I actually talk to them and figure out what the problem is.
From on NinjaTrader, you mean?
No, trading view.
Oh, so do you trade on TradingView or do you trade?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I use their charts. I have like 5 monitors. I have my trading view charts up on all of the monitors, and then I have my regular PC monitor with my NinjaTrader chart up that I'm taking the trades on.
Have you tried just doing, or an offset, or just predicting? I mean, that would be the simple answer, right? An offset or predicting. Meaning,
Predicting.
well,
What do you mean?
like if it is 7 seconds behind or 11 seconds behind, you can figure out how to offset the signal that you're looking for, and then, or what you do is you just, I mean, I'm sure you're trading around zones anyways. You just create a rule set around a standard deviation.
I
Sorry.
think it depends on the strategy that I'm using.
Yeah.
And that's one of my weaknesses as well. I know about 20 different strategies, and I tend to flip-flop.
Yeah.
So if I just stuck to 1 or 2 and I just mastered them,
Stop
that would be
field.
deadly. But
Well, I'll share with people that are on the stream or listening.
Stop field.
I said this yesterday, like, and I just want traders to hear me, new traders. Like, if you're a new trader, like, you're not going to suddenly get up and be a genius trader with 6 different strategies. If you don't have the discipline to master one strategy, what makes you think you're going to master 6? Like, it's like asinine. So, like, if a new trader that's struggling to, like, or even just starting, like, if you have the discipline to master one strategy, and it might only give you 3 trades a day, fine. Then you have permission to create another one. But, like, it doesn't work that way. Like, you're not just going to pick up the guitar and start doing a solo. right? You're going to pick up the guitar and you learn how to play chords, you know, and then your fingers are going to hurt. And then, but once you master chords, you know, then you could probably start thinking about doing a solo or something, right? So it's like, it's, you know, what you're experiencing, like, to me is like kind of one of the things I had to like overcome, because I was doing the same thing. I was like, oh, I've got 7 different trades. I have 7 different opportunities. But then, you know, I'd be confusing myself. Like, and then I said, you know what? Let me just master one trade. That's why I share the VWAP strategy. Because to me, any trade system you adopt, you're going to want the VWAP in it. And if you know how to trade around the VWAP, that like in 20 years, as a successful trader, you'll still probably be using the VWAP. So like, to me, it's a staple of any trading system that should be probably a factor. So that's my personal view on it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like I said, I had to learn the hard way. I didn't have anybody teach me, so I had to trial and error for a couple of years. So.
Well,
Yeah.
I spent. Go ahead.
Yeah.
You like you said, you teach a couple people and you're better off. I think that's the other reason why I do what I do, is that there's a saying that, you can't do teach, but then there's the other saying, which is basically, you want to learn anything, teach it, because like in order to teach something,
it sinks in a lot more.
we have to think about things deeply. So people don't understand how deeply I think about everything in my system and how deeply I still think about it. Because in order to teach, you have to think about it deeply, and to be an effective teacher, I should say. But then also I just, you know, so, but that to me is like the other thing that people would take that perspective of like, okay, but like I said, there's so many, it's such a psychological game. Trading's such a psychological game. And that's one of the biggest frustrations for someone that has a system, is that you can't imbue every psychological, not disorder, but every psychological permeation that exists in a person to his trade system. You know what I mean?
Yeah, one of the things is that if I can say it out loud and it sounds good, then it must be good.
Huh.
But sometimes I'll think about these things and I'll just take a trade. But when I say them out loud to somebody else, I'll catch myself if this doesn't make sense. And I'm like, what am I saying that for? So I'm like, yeah, that's not a good trade. Thought about it.
No, that's a good.
Yeah. So
No, that's a good.
I like saying it out loud in order to, because if it sounds right when I say it out loud, then hey, yeah, then my convictions are right. Good trade.
And you're really, I mean, that's what, like you said, no one was teaching you, no one was there. Like, that's the biggest challenge for retail traders. And I still remember what it was like. I bought $30,000 to $40,000 in training, you know, and I still remember what it was like. And I didn't start being successful until I took the responsibility of saying, I've got to figure out what works for me and ignore everything else, and take all this knowledge and put it into a bucket that's my own. And then like come up with these little mind hacks or these hacks. Like you said, like if I say it out loud and it sounds right, though, that adds to my conviction, right? To me, that's like what's not talked about enough about being a successful trader, because those are the things that matter. Like, because it's well, what I'm learning firsthand too. Well, obviously from the perspective of having training, but also watching my nephew. I taught another nephew, and it was amazing because I sat down with him for about 4 hours total, and he started trading the market, and he took what I said as law, as the gospel, and like he did really well because he didn't question, right? He just like, okay, this is what you said to do, I'm gonna do it. And like he just did very well. I'm like, geez, you know, this is like because he didn't have the psychological hangups of like knowing everything, you know what I mean, and questioning everything. And he just said, okay, well, I see that you're successful, you're my uncle, I trust you, I'm just gonna listen to what you say. So it's interesting to kind of see that, you know, play out, you know what I mean? I don't know if we lost you. So for those that are, for those that are maybe new or just joined, or been on the stream, just someone got on Discord, I just came across me today. Came across kind of a bad day because I was trading bad in the morning. But as you'll see, we'll be ending the day green around $4,000. Terrible day though. Terrible trading day. As far as me following the system. But yeah, go ahead.
So the funny thing is that I knew that you knew what you were doing, and I'm like, why are you taking? Because it sounded like you were doing a little revenge trading there in the morning.
No, I don't psychologically know what the hell I was doing. Tell you the truth, I think. Yeah. Well, no, so this week, usually I'll share psychologically where I'm at. I think. My off week of chemo, I try not to do anything medical wise. So the last 2 days have been involved me doing a scan, meeting doctors, doing other stuff. And it's been frustrating personally because I'm like, when I'm feel well and I don't have this chemo and stuff in me, I want to just focus on just doing my passions and living life, right? But so like the last 2 days, I've been doing errands and so when I got back into the chart and today when I could actually trade, I fell back into my old habits of like, okay, I need the fix. I need the action, man. So like that, and like I can feel it in real time. And like I said, it's just, I can't break that habit. It's very hard for me because I've developed it over the last 4 years. That's why. Like it's been a when you develop a trading habit, like that is a bad trading habit, it might not hurt you, but then there'll be that one day where it wipes you out, or that one day. And like this habit that I have of being able to trade myself out of any trade and just having the ability to stay in a trade and then trade at the right pivot points and everything else and having enough capital is just not the right way to trade. But can I do it successfully? Yeah. But does that not mean that there's not going to be a day in the future where basically I'm going to be in that trade and then, some madman's going to launch World War III officially, right? And then I'm just going to get liquidated in that account? Yeah, that's probably going to happen. You know what I mean? So I'll have stops and I'll have protective stops, and it's just going to gap over my stops. It's happened to me 3 times before. I've only liquidated 3 accounts. But like since my last third one, so that's what you saw in the morning is what I consider an elite trader having this bad habit of being able to have enough powder where I could have continued to scale in and probably made, and I would have been profitable if I would have held that trade, right? Where it's at right now. If I would have held that trade for an hour and a half, I'd be profitable because we can see where price is at now. So I was ultimately right on the larger term macro of that trade. But from a trading perspective, it was messy, terrible trading, bad habit, not acceptable. I'm stumbling because I mean, you understand it from dealing with your own psychological issues, right? Like you said, you stopped trading because you realized, hey, I'm not feeling the market, or, my stuff's not working. Like my mojo's not there, right? So I get it. Or that's what you're seeing. And when I solve that, then, which I'm really close to solving this. So where are we at? We are at 240. I blew a little bit of P&L. Was up about $5,000. Over traded a little bit here in the afternoon session, looking for the breakout move. The question I have at this point in time is, we look at the daily chart. Let's open up TradingView. Let's look at the NQ. And let's look at the daily. Let's see what damage was done on the daily. Someone did ask about FRC. I'll share that here. And then someone also asked on YouTube about my diet, kind of like the juicing. I'll share that too. So the daily, we look at it, is there any damage on the daily? Well, so the trade that I executed was based on the daily time frame, and I just didn't stick with it, and I started too early, and it was bad trading. But what do we have here? Well, this level here, 12918, is the significant high anchored VWAP. What is that? We use anchored VWAPs in our trade system. Basically, what it is it's so the anchored VWAP is basically just take the significant high, and then you can only do that on volume charts. So that level here is a significant high of anchored VWAP, and the market's been using that thanks to a member in our den shared this 2 weeks ago or a couple weeks ago that, hey, are you looking at the significant anchored VWAP? And I was like, no. So I added it to the chart, and that's been a decision reactionary that the market has used. The other thing that the market has used, obviously, is our momentum indicator, which is right there. And that's what I was trading. I was trading a daily momentum check with the thesis of what we're seeing here, which is like it was going to hit the daily momentum check and close above it. Well, I should have started on the break. I should have started lower. I should have waited for confirmation instead of falling into my habit of. So for those that are new or just started watching, so like one of my negative trading habits that I have is that I have enough capital to trade myself pretty much out of any trade. You might say, well, that's a great thing to have. Well, no, it's not, because if you're not executing good trades and you're just able to always trade yourself out of a trade or have that. All right, sorry. I want to see if we can catch this move here. So we're waiting for a pullback. It might break out to the upside. I just did a participation trade. We'll see if we can get picked up on a spike down at a key level or NQ long. See if we can. It looks like it's going to test the OR high. We do have the RDA tap here. Well, the problem with that is that it's not great trading, and it allows sloppy trading because basically I have a wide zone that I could scale in at, and then also I still have enough powder. It's just terrible trading. It's just terrible. So, but it's been the way I've traded for the last 3 years, at least, and it hasn't hurt me in the last 3 years. But like one of these days, the market's gonna react against me, and it's gonna hurt me really bad. So, but I was so frustrated the last couple days of not being able to trade, that when I got into the market this morning, I started off well, but then I started to see trades that didn't exist because I wasn't waiting for confirmation. And then falling into the old habit of like, I got enough powder, let me just scale into here. And then when the market turned and there was clear signals that I should have just reversed, I didn't reverse when I usually would, right? So I'm still ending the day green on 4,000, but as far as trading, I'd rate this day a F. Like, still ended the day green. But then the other thing that it does to you is that when you get into this mode, then you start like, instead of then trading high probability trades, I'm not taking the high probability trades because I started trading bad. Anyways, it's for those that are following in Discord or following me or, trading the system, I'm sure you were yelling too that, hey, you're not following the system. Actually, my nephew Elite, was basically, but he did say when we were talking that, hey, yeah, I'm just following momentum, trading the system. I'm like, yeah, you were trading the system while I'm fighting the system. The person that designed the system, like, yeah, like an idiot. All right, so now I'll share some, like I juice. So like what I found that works really well for diet-wise, and I did get out of that trade. I was in a participation trade. It still might rip up, but we got the OR high, and then there's the VWAP up here. So we're running out of market time. So if it does spike up to here in this zone here, like at 116, 100 above there, I'll probably short that up there if it does spike up there. Otherwise than that, the only other trade opportunity that maybe exists here on this late in the session. And for those that are new, I used to trade, and I repeat this often, but I only, there's a period where I could only trade like 2 times a day. So I would trade 15 minutes after the open or so, and then I would trade for like 45 minutes, and then I would trade right around the last hour of the market. I got really adept at being able to basically trade the last hour of the market. And the how you trade the last hour of the market is not how you trade the open, but it's similar, where basically there's usually a directional move that happens 2 times in the last hour, and there's usually a pivot, and like catching that pivot can be, you can, like, your profits could be within 5 to 10 minutes. I mean, literally, it's like, and if you get good at trading size at that, you can trade it pretty successfully. So I have a lot of chart time watching this time of the market. So generally, I would say new traders at this point in time, because of the volatility, the spikes, and everything else, you shouldn't be trading this. Tighten up your stops. But oftentimes you'll see maybe me enter a trade around this time, based on, okay, there's a probability here that there's going to be a directional move in this direction, because this is where the market's looking to close above, or this is where the market would like to close. So for instance, the simple answer is that level that I've identified here on the NQ, right around 089. That's where the market's trying to close above, and that's the OR low. It's also would love to tap the VWAP. And I talk about this as if it's the market, some living, breathing entity. But, that is kind of the way to look at it. And that's the way I look at it. Because I don't come up with made up terms about, this zone up here, this is a triple level liquidity stop hunt zone. So we're going to trade our triple liquidity stop hunt zone up here. That's what this zone is. I don't come up with these dumb terms for things that I don't know. I just kind of just use simplistic ways that I describe what the market's trying to do. And I think of the market, it has one big algorithm, and one big algorithm is trying to close, wants to tap the VWAP because it hasn't tapped the VWAP all day. That's my thesis for this trade. Obviously, I'm using the 4-chart setup. So I'm using the 4-chart setup to kind of look at that. In the 4-chart setup, chart 2 is momentum and bias long. So as long as momentum and bias holds up, it's kind of what we're trading. But I'm not going to try to trade over 3 lots here. I'll do one more entry down here. So I'll do one more entry on a spike down at a level here on chart 2. And then this trade's either going to work out or not. And it's either going to, we're going to risk probably about $300 to $400 here to maybe make 6 to 8 is probably what this trade looks like. So that's what we're going to risk on this trade, if you're wondering. Yeah, it was interesting. So just good conversation with someone that just popped up on the radar. Okay, so my juicing. So we're long. I've got protective stops there. You can see on the NQ. No other chart. Every other chart's in a range. Look, CL's in a range. No trade there. Gold in a range. No trade there. NG is in a range. It's maybe going to tap the OR low. No trade there. So pretty much all 3 of these charts are in similar positions. So it doesn't matter where I deploy my capital. Meaning, what I mean is that I can deploy my capital on, it doesn't matter which one of these charts I deploy my capital on, because they're kind of in a similar pattern. And yeah, one might move down and one might move up, but like my deploy of capital to be efficient doesn't matter. So I'm just deploying my plus, it's the end of market. So it could just range out here too. That's the other aspect here. It might just range out here on the trade. We're in 2 lots. We'll see. It's trying to really rip up. Momentum. So it's really at a bias check also on chart 4. But this is the type of trade. It's either going to rip up or not. So at this point in time, what I need to do in this trade, given the time, is just cost into the 10-second mark, or the 10 minutes of the cash market being open. We'll give it another 30 seconds. I want to see this next bar close on chart 2. Want to see if it holds momentum and bias. If it holds momentum and bias, then I'll probably put trailing stops in and either be taken out at a loss or taken out on trailing stops. So this is the final bias and momentum check right here. Close below 069 spot 25 on the NQ. Probably will sell off. Close above, it's probably going to hold. So that's just kind of a quick macro view of that. All right. Now we're in profit. Let's not let it go against us. We'll put in 2 trailing stops, get rid of our other positions, and just either be taken out on a trailing stop here, and up about $185, or we're going to be taken out at a loss if our stops don't hit. So I put my stops below the entry, as you can see, giving a little bit of room to come up, recapture the RDA, and tag the VWAP. It's going to stall probably right here around the OR high, but it might just rip through it. So the other thing I could do if I wanted to not give it enough room is put my stops just above entry in 2 lots. Like I said, we'll see. We'll give it plenty of room. Plenty of room here. There we go. Keep ripping, man. You can do it. You got the strength. All right. So juicing. So I did a lot of research on diet and everything else, and so I do a combination of carrot juice / a green juice mix. And I used to do juicing where I would buy and that's the best way to do it, is to buy like the vegetables and everything else, but it's just such a pain. Here in the United States, Costco and Sam's Club, all right, got stopped out of the trade, sell these juices, carrot juice and these green juices that you can combine, that if you get them the furthest date out, pretty much the nutritional value is about the same as if I were to just do it myself. So I drink that juice twice a day. I mix the carrot juice and the green juice. It's kale and a mix of other stuff. But, it's 50-50. Basically 50% carrot juice and then 50% this kind of green juice mix. And you want, if you don't get leafy greens into your diet, then you're not setting up your body the ability to properly digest food. You need green elements in your diet for proper digestion to happen, or to support proper digestion. So that's why I drink that twice a day. And then that's kind of my base. And then I just eat good. Like yesterday, we went out and had a hamburger. I was craving a hamburger, so I went out and had a hamburger and had cheese curds as well. But then every day, and then yesterday I also got a fruit juice, not one of those sugar, like real fruit and everything else from a place, that supplemented what I would normally do with like a fruit. So to me, every 2 days, it's then injecting the nutrients that you would get some fruits. And the best way to do that, if you can't eat it, is basically just strawberries, banana, a green powder mix that has some green powder as well with protein, blueberries, blackberries, and then the red berries, whatever those are called. And then mix that with orange juice, and then just supplement with water. And then if you like matcha powder or whatever it's called, add some of that. Add some flax seeds, flax oil, and then add some, turmeric. Add some, whatever else you think that would help you. That's what I do. So every 2 days, then I'm still doing my juice, and then I supplement in like these berry, kind of a berry mix. And then from a nutritional perspective, from the research I've done, the way I've looked at it, that works very well for me. I'd be doing this if I didn't, even if I wasn't dealing with cancer, because I just feel healthy. I just friggin' like when I get up in the morning, drink some water, and then also do the juice, like then like it, my body feels like I just got nutrients. Like it gives me energy. And then you know, and is it a pain? Yeah, absolutely, it's a pain. Like to eat healthy, it's a pain. So, all right, so we were up about $400. The market's about to close in 5 minutes. Let's see if we can. I could, you know, the one thing I could probably do on this remainder position if I want to baby one lot is that basically I could put it below. The one thing I could do is I could put it down here below the RDA on chart 2 and the momentum indicators, and maybe we might have a rippage up. Got a rippage up, then maybe can make another, you know, $300 to $400 if it decides to rip up from here. Otherwise, it'll spike down and get taken out on a spike. So, like I said, terrible trading. There's only one more to trade. Yeah, so that's my, you know, to me that's the what's the nutrition that works for me. And then I eat normal food. Like I'll eat, you know, I'm kind of craving noodles, so I'll probably have some kind of noodle dish here in a little bit. When my nephew was here, we found at the grocery store, like we found this pasta. It's like 4-cheese pasta, and then like the white sauce, whatever that's called. So like it was good. Like we literally like so. I think every week when we went to the grocery store and we picked up this pasta that tastes just as good as we were at a restaurant. Like it just, you know, so like we're like, hey, this is like, and I don't remember the name of the brand, but
Alfredo sauce?
yeah, Alfredo sauce. Thanks. So, but you know, in like the not the frozen, but the refrigeration aisle, there's, I don't know if your grocery store sells it, but like there's these ones where they have refrigerated pasta, and then the same brand sells Alfredo sauce. So every week we were like, yeah, this is, I mean, we have a couple.
Is it like Bertoli or something like that?
Yeah, that I think that's one of them. I don't know if that was the brand.
Well, that's phenomenal then. Yeah, that tastes really good.
Yeah. Well, and then you know, the last week he was here, we went to another grocery store, and I'm like, oh, this one looks just as good. He's like, okay, it's on you. If it's not, I'm going to call you on it. And it wasn't. So I'm like, yeah, we strayed from the brand that so, yeah, I mean, so I eat normally. Like, I only eat one meal a day, like, and then usually I'm snacking. So, I saw that too. I saw recently, I don't know if other people do that, but I saw like, I don't follow the news, but I saw like the latest hack from Silicon Valley billionaires. They only eat once a day. It was like a news story or something. I wonder if that's something other people do, but. And who knows? I mean, if you look back in history, I mean, you go back 300 to 400 years, like people weren't eating 3 meals a day. So.
No, they weren't.
Yeah. So, like.
As a matter of fact, look at the processed food that we have.
Yeah. I think that's what's causing cancer. I think, you know, my personal opinion is that, you know, you see an uptick in cancer across the board the last 30 years. And like no one wonders why, right? Like what could possibly be the common denominator here? And I think it's processed foods, and I think it's probably some kind of environmental digital impact. I think that's probably, and maybe it's also our particles in our air, right? Like we have the most kind of carcinogenic particles in the air than we've ever had in history, right?
Like ear cancer didn't exist before 1900.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Mike, how do they know that though? I've never heard that.
You can't prove it or disprove it. That's the problem.
Oh, but yeah, there wasn't. Yeah, because I mean,
Stop film.
but did they have the ability to diagnose that? Oh, you have colorectal cancer, or you just have cancer. You know what I mean? That's interesting though. I haven't heard that, but I would believe it though, right? I mean, if you look at the graph of cancer, and younger and young, like for instance, like I got cancer like early 40s, and I wasn't supposed to scan for I wasn't supposed to do a colo or whatever that thing is called where you do the test, right? You're not supposed to do that till you're 50. Yeah, colonoscopy. You're not supposed to do that till you're 50. Like you're not really told. but now they're recommending it younger because, and I'm even noticing in the treatment center, there's a lot of younger people. I mean, the other thing that you don't know is that,
I was told that I had to get one, but my insurance company says I'm not old enough.
yeah, the other thing that you don't know is my wife in the last year and a half had pancreatic cancer, and we both were on cancer treatment at the same time, and she had major surgery for pancreatic cancer. So, you know, in the last 2 years, there's been 2 people in my household that had cancer that were getting chemo treatment at the same time, radiation and stuff. And one person alone with cancer in a household is tough. Try having 2 people with cancer in a household that are relatively young, you know, under 50, comparatively for cancer, right? So, like, it's, and I'm noticing at the treatment centers, there's younger and younger people, and even the doctors are saying that, yeah, we're starting to see instances of cancer that statistically, historically, don't show up. So, and no one's asking why. Like, what might be the cause of some of this stuff, right? So, I don't know. I mean, I do know.
Is it where you live?
I think it could be part of that. I mean, I think that, but I think it's a combination of everything, right? So before I overworked. I think it, you know, I sat on my ass too long, you know, like I didn't eat well, you know. So I think the problem with it is there's so many variables that might be causing it, but it's got to be something around that. The last 20 or 30 years, most of our diets is processed foods. And then if you look at the quality of our air, carcinogenically wise, it's just what we're breathing in. Other than the start of the Industrial Revolution, it hasn't been at these numbers. Well, there was, if you do look at history, which is interesting. I don't want to get into conspiracy theories, but you can look at historical records if you go down this rabbit hole. And there was maybe potential signs of a sophisticated civilization 1.5 million years ago. If you want to go down that rabbit hole in conspiracy theory. But that's where you see, we see similar type of carcinogenic particles within soil or, you know, core structures. Other than that, the last 1 million years or whatever, the numbers of what we're breathing in just doesn't exist, right? So it's got to be something. But it also, we're living longer. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, there's so many factors. But I've noticed, and I've asked doctors, are you seeing increased occurrences in younger people? And they say, yeah, we are. And when I go into like even the last couple of years, I used to go into the clinic and I'd be one of the younger people there. But now I'm starting to see, like, just my last treatment cycle, there's a guy that was just getting started, just got diagnosed with colorectal cancer, and just getting started, and he was like 30, 33. So, you know, and this is anecdotal, so I don't know, but I'm just saying from I see younger and younger people that are in the treatment center than even I did maybe when I started. So it's kind of interesting. I don't know if interesting is the right word, but yeah, i.e. not a carnivore. No, I love meat. Steak, like where I'm at right now, I can't grill yet, but the second that it turns 45, I'm going to be out grilling. So the second that we have 245-degree days in a row, the grills are getting out, and I'll start grilling. So I love grills. I love grill food. I'm a meat eater. So yeah, I am a carnivore. But I've ate once a day for years, and I don't know. I snack and stuff, but like, I have one solid meal a day. I kind of find it more efficient too. So let's recap the day. Let's talk about. I wonder if it's because young people are going to the doctor more these days. That could be it. That's the other thing. That's true. It's like maybe. Of course, the more that's the thing. The more that we track stats that we didn't track before, and the more reliable those stats are, well, like for instance, a good example. This is what annoys me, is that all these tornadoes and mass weather that's hitting everybody's. Look, we're not going to get into a global warming section here, but look, yeah, too much red meat is for your colon, but I don't eat red meat like I used to. Plus, if you offset it so it's properly digested, it won't be as much of a challenge. But so for instance, we're seeing every time that a tornado hits or these massive storms or hurricanes, the meme is, weather's getting bad and everything else. Well, obviously those people have never read history. They've never been to Pompeii. They've never, because these events that always happen, we've populated the planet in more places than we ever have before. We have more people surviving and living in places that they ever had. These events already happened. And if no one lived in the Great Plains, 500 years ago, we don't know how many tornadoes and hurricanes, but how many tornadoes and massive storms happened 500 years ago. We have no idea. I mean, obviously people were documented, but we have no idea. We don't even know if the occurrences are the same, because we don't have accurate data. So, I just believe a lot of this is that we're just inhabiting the planet more. And, so that to me is an aspect of the data where okay, if there's more people living in places, of course there's going to be more occurrences of property damage and deaths around these great storms because we've never populated the planet. What are we at? 8 billion people now? Yeah. That's a really good, as a lover of history, that's a really good example. Hannibal took elephants across the Alps because there was no glaciers at the time. So, you go to the Alps now and you would wonder how the hell did Hannibal cross these mountains? It seems impossible now. But like you said, the makeup of the climate and the Alps was different. It was still treacherous, but the makeup of the crossing where Hannibal crossed was feasible. Now, the Romans didn't believe it was possible at that time through their hubris. And Hannibal just had the ability to the audacity to actually, if you read that account, if you haven't read that account and read real history on it, it's utterly fascinating. I find it utterly fascinating. I think it's utterly fascinating. So that's a good example. So let's talk about today. Let's go through. So one of the things I'm working on automating is sorry, I want to comment. Is I want to automate the grade for the day across these 4 charts and other charts. Now, the problem with the grade for the day is that the grade for the day requires some. What I'm doing is I'm grading how well the Rexstock trade system did if you traded it through the rules, through and what are the highest probability trades of the day. And then I break it down in the 2 trade types that we have, which is fade and momentum. So let's just do the NQ. I'm going to just walk through this here just to show you how I would do this. and then we're going to end the stream, and then basically so I haven't been sharing this because it takes me time to do this, and I want to do it at least once a week where I basically highlight it for members, and then what we do is then I break it down in the 4-chart setup, and we talk about the fundamentals of the system. So that's one thing but I want to automate it to where what I can do is I can mark up a chart, and then through automation, it will interpret the grade, and it'll create a report that could be housed at the website. So I don't want to speak any more about that because I don't want to get anybody, or I don't want to share something that I might not be able to figure out. So let's talk about the high probability trades of the day. I use the 5-minute as the base, and then what we do is we look at the 4-chart setup, and we say, okay, was that a high probability trade as far as does it follow one of our patterns? So the first high probability trade of the day was late in the day, and then that was here, the RDA text. That was a high probability trade of the day. That was first check is the best. What are you doing? If we pose up the 4-chart setup and members, I'll if I have energy, not energy, I'll do a video on this for members on breaking down today, because today probably was a little bit challenging day for some people to maybe trade. Now let's talk about the other aspect. That's just right there, recent. We can see here once the opening range developed. Where's the other high probability trade of the day? Well, the other high probability trade of the day, the next one, is right here. That's the next high probability trade of the day, early in the session, right around 9 a.m. Following the system, what is it? Momentum and bias short. No arguing with the chart. What did it do? Rip down, and it didn't recapture momentum. You never, like a dumbass, and I'm going to call myself a dumbass, I was fading the market here like a dumbass, like a complete idiot, trading against the system. This is the first signal that you have on the 5-minute chart. This is just using the 5-minute chart. We're not even using the superpower that is the 4-chart setup. Well, look at this. That's the first clue that you got. Hey, this is the market telling you, hey, I want to break momentum. I want to do switch over. So what happened in this whole stage? What happened here? This is a pattern we have in the pattern library. It's called the switchover pattern. This whole thing is a switchover. Switchover of momentum and bias. This was the first clue the market gave it that, hey, I want to switch over momentum and bias. Where did you get the official answer? Where's the next trade? Okay, go away, man. Go away. Leave. Okay, there we go. This is your next trade. It is a fade trade. It's not a fade trade. This is your next trade. Your next zone. Official switch of momentum. Where do you have room to the RDA? That's your profit area. Actually, this is the first test. What am I, drunk? Here we go. That's your first best trade. Here's your next best trade. Here's your next best trade. Perfect momentum check. I'm going to mute. How do I mute this? Actually, I'm just going to leave this. I'm going to leave active trading just so everybody knows. So now this here, down here is a fade trade. I will guarantee, I guarantee members, and I'll do a video on this because I'm going to have to now because I guaranteed it. I can guarantee for members, alpha members, people trading the system, I can guarantee, and I don't even need to look at the 4-chart setup, so I'm not cheating here. I can guarantee that in this zone, as far as a high probability trade occurred right here in this zone. I can guarantee it on the 4-chart setup. Okay, give me my circle, dude. There we go. Right in this zone. I can guarantee the 4-chart setup. I can almost, because I can guarantee it because I've watched, or I created the system. Plus I can, when you get to my level of trading the system, you can look at a 5-minute chart and you can know how chart 2 and chart 4 are going to paint. You know what the indicators look like there. You know what the the confirmation. I can guarantee in this zone, this is where you would take the fade trade confirmation trade. You probably got a little signal a little bit earlier. So this is one of the only fade trades that you would execute today. This is the only fade trade that I see on the market. Here, you might say that this is an overshoot. Now, what did this happen around 2:15 CST? So this is what you would call a kind of standard fake out. Standard, okay, we're going to sell off, guys. We're going to sell off. Let's sell off. Bam. You know, if you want to look at it from this perspective, it would trap traders. And I was in this, so I did catch this trade here, part of it. Where I became profitable is actually in this fade trade. I was fading the market all here like an idiot. And then eventually I said, you know, I'm going to be right, or I was right in the fade trade. And if I would have stuck with that trade, I would have been profitable. But once again, my time frame and the fact that I was just trading bad was terrible. So those are the high probability trades of the day. You also got another opportunity here to get in. So how would we grade this? You want to know how I'm grading this, just so I can share from a perspective of how I'm grading this? I look at it from the perspective of someone that is following the trade system and not questioning the rules and trading the system the way that it's supposed to be traded. And how this is kind of the arbitrary nature of it. How stressful or how not emotional, psychologically, how hard would it have been to trade this given the rules that we have in the system? Because the market is messy. I can go back in a chart and I can tell you, okay, look, momentum trade 1, momentum trade 2, momentum trade 3, fade trade 1. So 3 momentums, 1 fade trade, 1 momentum, 1 bias, 1 bias, 1 momentum, and 1 fade. So what is that? 2 fades and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 7. Yeah. So I'd say 6. The problem with this trade here is that, what is that? Is that a fade? Well, like this trade here from our market perspective or from our system, the system that we trade, right? Well, okay, the momentum's long, but then the bias is short. So what's the best trade? Well, what do I say? What do we say? First test is the best. That's the first test of the RDA for the day. That's the best trade. So we see that here. That was the best trade. Now this one here, the next test was also another good trade. So what do we call this trade? It's against momentum, but it's with bias. So maybe what I need to do with this is say, okay, is that a fade trade? I look at it as a fade trade because momentum on this chart, it also comes down with which chart is your control. Well, from this chart perspective, it's a fade trade because we're against momentum. Fade trade against momentum. But is it with bias? Yeah. Is that the right trade to do in that scenario? Absolutely. We see it happen time and time again in the markets. So I would grade today basically probably an A-, as far as like how well it followed the system. There was one overshoot here. Other than that, once it decided to do the switchover, which if we look at the chart, which is what I was trading, what do we see on the daily chart? On the index, we see our fast momentum indicator. That's what I was trading against. I was expecting the reaction that we see here. I was expecting that it was going to test the momentum indicator and it was going to close above it, which it did. Okay, what did I fail on? Well, number one, I didn't have the proper time frame, and I didn't wait till the counter signal, and I wasn't correlating to this low. I mean, I almost matched that low perfectly. Look at that. I can't get any more perfect than that. So I got a little tunnel vision. You know, what I should have done is wait till it got closer to this low and wait for confirmation on the 4-chart setup and then start scaling in, and then it would have been an awesome trade. But no, I was fading the market. But my thesis was the higher time frame, which is exactly what unfolded. So I share that from the perspective of, okay, going into this day, from your pre-market analysis, what do you know going in before this day even opened? You know the fast momentum indicators down here, and you know that that is a possible reaction area and a test point for the market. Well, I just didn't trade the overshoot properly. But to me, I grade the day an A minus. As far as the system, obviously you can look back and this is the one thing that I like when I grade this, is that I'm not trying to use like, let's look back in the chart and it's so easy. I'm looking at it from the perspective of, okay, in real time, how was this using the 4 chart setup to trade? That's the way I'm looking at it. So those are your high probability trades of the day. If you go to the 4 chart setup, guarantee alphas, you'll see patterns around those areas where you got confirmation. You didn't have to enter early, and you got confirmation that, hey, the RDA is going to fail, or hey, the momentum check's going to fail, or hey, this is a changeover, and then here's a good fade trade. So I'll do a quick video on that in a little bit on the 4 chart setup. Other than that, it's been awesome that it's been an interesting day, and thanks everybody for joining. I look forward to it. So Friday is a holiday, so the last trading day is tomorrow. So I would expect some interesting volatility in the market tomorrow, because typically on these holiday weekends, the weekend before, oftentimes what you'll find on something like this is that the market will just choose a direction and just go there. And oftentimes it's the long side. And oftentimes it'll trip up people, because basically they'll say, well, who wants to hold risk over the long weekend? But the market doesn't make sense over half the time. So that's why I trade the charts. My goal tomorrow, my number one thing to work on tomorrow, is to trade the system like a complete, like someone that trade the system. Don't fight the system at all. And I'm allowed 2 fade trades tomorrow. Actually, 1. I'll give myself 1 fade. No, I'll give 2. 2 fade trades. But if I'm entering a fade trade and there's not confirmation on chart 2, then I need to get out of the trade. So that's my number one thing to work on tomorrow. My number one thing to work on is no fade trades. Trade the system. Straight up momentum. Straight up bias. And wait for confirmation. Just get the discipline again to wait for confirmation, and don't be an aggressive trader just because I have the capital to trade myself out of trades. So that's my number one thing to work on tomorrow. It's probably 2 things, but I have two number one things to work on. Or 2 number one things. It's been awesome. I look forward to seeing everybody on the next stream. If you are interested in the best trading system on the planet, check out rexdogtrading.com. Join via Discord. Ask questions there. You can see part of the stream. I was on a conversation that someone that I just met today, just started following us today. And just look, I said, hey, can I hop on voice and just ask you a few questions? I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? And we just had a, good upfront conversation. Someone that obviously I can tell by listening to someone within a minute or so whether or not they actually trade or whether or not they actually know what they're talking about. So it was kind of clear within the first 30 seconds that TT Trader actually has some experience and actually is trading, not just someone that's speaking theories and not just someone that's just, postulating about how the markets work or how things work or how trading works. It was pretty clear within a minute and a half that TT Trader trades. So to me, I'm always interested in talking to other people that trade, because I can get more knowledge, more insight, develop my edge better, become a better trader. So even a new trader I can learn from. All right, everybody, have a great rest of the day. And then people that I'm going to be in touch with, who I'm going to be in touch with. I'll be in touch with you shortly. I'm out. Oh, I didn't start my stream in TradingView. What an idiot. Why do I forget that step all the time? Oh, my God. How do I do that? Why do I do that, son? Well, and that sucks. So I got to remember that. So that's why I have this checklist, but I don't follow this checklist. And plus, I just created it today. So that'd be another reason why I don't follow it. All right, let's